I want you to picture a document. It's a PDF. It's 6 pages long, single-spaced, just dense with text.
Right.
It's got screenshots, timelines, red circles drawn around timestamps. And the title is A Note on My Stalker. When you see something like that drop online, what's your first instinct?
Oh, the instinct is to lean in, 100%. We're trained by social media to believe that receipts equal truth. You
Yeah.
see the effort, you see the sheer volume of data, and you just assume, okay, this person has done the work, they're the victim here, this is a real threat.
Exactly. We think where there's smoke, there's fire. But today, we are diving into a really messy, tangled conflict from the Malaysian underground art scene, specifically the zine world. And we are going to test a very uncomfortable hypothesis from this stack of dark psychology research you've brought.
It is uncomfortable, but I think it's necessary. The hypothesis is this. In the modern power game, especially in these really tight-knit communities, the person producing the receipts, the one writing the 6-page PDF, is very often the person who is actually losing.
That just feels so backwards. I mean, we live in the call-out era. If you don't document it, it didn't happen.
You're in a court of law.
Maybe.
But in the court of, let's say, social capital, and specifically in the mechanics of power dynamics, over-explaining is a sign of weakness.
Yeah.
So we're going to look at this case with the Kinta Zine Club, not as a morality play, but as a strategic clash between the explainer and the ghost.
The ghost. I like that. Okay, so let's set the scene. We're not talking about corporate espionage here. We are talking about zines.
Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, these are basically DIY small batch booklets. It's photocopied art, poetry, very punk rock. It's supposed to be a safe space.
Supposed to be, which makes a power struggle like this even more fascinating because the weapons aren't lawsuits. The weapons are social capital, whispers, and just presence.
Exactly.
So the conflict is between Aaron Melekine, a member of the Kinta Zine Club, and Izat, a former member. And honestly, it all seems to start with a breakup. Not a romantic one, but a kind of creative divorce.
Yes, back in April 2024, Azat leaves the group. And I really want to pause on his departure note because if you're looking for psychological clues, this thing is a gold mine.
It is a weird note, right? He writes to the group that he's, quote, exhausted doing things alone and needs to leave to reinvent himself.
But look at the sign-off. How does he sign it?
He signs it. Yang dramatic, Izat, which is Malay for. The dramatic one, Izat.
That is just incredible foreshadowing. He literally claims the title of the dramatic one, puts it on the table.
And
Then in the months that follow, he completely flips the script. He stops being dramatic. He goes quiet. And Erin, well, she effectively picks up that dramatic label he dropped and puts it on herself.
So he exits stage left, and she takes center stage. Fast forward to September 2024, Erin releases that PDF we talked about. Her claim is that even though he's gone, and she's gone no contact, he's still watching her.
And this is where we have to be very precise about the so-called crime. Erin alleges he's using sock puppet accounts, fake names like oracle.rebel, to view her public Instagram stories and follow her friends.
She calls this exploiting her follower list. Okay, I have to play devil's advocate here. Is looking at a public Instagram story, is that stalking?
Legally, almost certainly not. Socially, I mean, it's definitely creaky if you've been asked to leave someone alone. But this is where Erin makes her first big strategic mistake, at least according to the Machiavellian sources we're looking at.
Which is?
She treats a boundary violation like a public emergency. She doesn't just block the new account and move on. She writes a manifesto. She even created a mini zine about stalking and handed it out at an event where Izat was.
Wait, pause. She handed out pamphlets about him stalking her while he was in the same room?
Yes, she called it a lecture performance.
Okay, if I'm just a random person in that coffee shop holding a latte and I see a woman handing out zines about a guy standing 10 feet away, I'm not thinking, oh, she's so brave. I'm thinking, this is chaotic.
You're thinking she's the one bringing the noise. There's a concept in our source stack called bleeding power, and the quote is, "The man who explains loses. When you explain, you reveal your priorities. You reveal what gets under your skin."
So by printing that zine, she's basically giving Izat a roadmap to all her insecurities.
Exactly. She's broadcasting, you are getting to me, you are controlling my emotions. She's using up all this energy writing, printing, stressing. And what's Izat doing?
Well, that's the ghost part. He's just there. He's not screaming. He's not handing out counterzines.
He is engaging in what the books call strategic withdrawal. It's a classic move. He has removed himself from the dread fight. He blocked their personal account so he isn't sending them nasty DMs. He has made himself untouchable because you can't argue with someone who won't talk back to you.
But he is talking to other people, and this is the part that would drive me absolutely insane. He's commenting on her friends' posts, on the bookstore's posts, and he's being nice.
Ah, the nice guy, camouflage. This is where the strategy gets really, really sophisticated.
I mean, we've got the screenshots. He's writing things on public posts like, congrats in advance, or thanks for sharing your story. It's got me hooked.
Now, put yourself in the shoes of a casual friend. You see Aaron posting, he's a stalker, he's dangerous. And then you look at Izat's public comments and he's just saying, congrats on the book launch with a smiley face.
The cognitive dissonance is huge.
Okay.
It makes Aaron look hysterical.
It frames her as unreasonable. This creates plausible deniability for Izat. He can turn to anyone and say, I honestly don't know what her problem is. I'm just trying to be supportive of the scene.
It's like he's gaslighting the entire community by being polite.
It's strategic ambiguity. And in this world of dark psychology, ambiguity is a weapon. You can't fight a ghost who is throwing confetti. If he was writing, I hate you, she would have proof. But congrats, what do you do with that?
You can't do anything. And this brings us to the most intense part of the story, and honestly, the part that really changed my perspective on all of this, the incident with Sue.
Yes. This is where the rubber meets the road. Erin decides she needs the institutions on her side, so she sends a blast email to Tokasue, an indie bookstore, and PLUHO, a local NGO. She demands they take a stand.
She wants him boycotted, exiled.
And Sue, the owner of Tokasue, writes back, and we really need to handle this part with care, because the context here is just devastating. The sources mention that Sue isn't just dealing with bookstore drama. She had just lost her first son.
Right, so you have this woman going through the worst possible grief imaginable, trying to keep her business running. And then ping, this multi-page email lands in her inbox demanding she referee a feud between two artists.
Sue's response is just, it's a reality check. She writes, honestly, I don't really understand what's going on. She says she physically cannot handle another mental burden because of her personal tragedies.
She does more than that. She actually pushes back on Aaron's story. She writes that Izat always speaks highly of your team like an adoration.
Like an adoration. That phrase is everything. Sue is seeing the nice guy mask, sure, but she's also just out of energy. She looks at Izat, sees a guy acting like a fanboy, and looks at Aaron, sees someone demanding she take on this huge emotional burden.
To a grieving mother, Aaron looks like the problem. She looks like the one bringing the drama.
Precisely. And this is the victim trap the psychology sources talk about. Good people assume that because they're hurting, the world will stop and help them. Aaron assumes safety is everyone's top priority.
But for Sue, the priority is just survival, getting through the day.
And Sue just says, I do not have the capacity. That's actually an incredibly powerful move, even if it comes from a place of grief. She refuses to play the game.
What about the other institution, PLUHO? They ran that digital security fellowship Izat was in. Surely they'd care about digital stalking.
You'd think so. But PLUHO responds like a bureaucracy. They check the dates. They reply basically, look, his fellowship ended in January 2025. He's not our problem anymore.
They wash their hands of it. Not our circus, not our monkeys.
They follow procedure. They point out that they offered a complaint mechanism earlier, but Aaron's team didn't use it then. Now that she wants immediate action, PLUHO just points her to therapy. They literally suggest queer-affirming therapists.
Ouch. She wants a banhammer, and they hand her a brochure.
It feels incredibly invalidating, I'm sure. But it shows you how institutions work. They don't run on emotion, they run on liability. Izat hasn't broken a law, he hasn't threatened violence, so they can't just ban him without exposing themselves to trouble.
This all leads to the public space argument, which I think is the core of why Izat is, winning this. There's a moment where he comments on a ZineFest Instagram post and just asks, can I come?
And what do the organizers say?
They reply with fire emojis, open for all.
Open for all. Erin admits in her own PDF that their space is a public market, but she wants it to function like a private club where she controls the guest list.
And you can't. You can't enforce private boundaries in a public square. Izat knows this. He's using their open-for-all ethos against her. He knows if they kick him out, they'd be violating their own principles. So he just walks in, buys a coffee, smiles, and Erin either has to leave or sit there steaming.
And that is why, by the ruthless logic of these sources, Izat is winning.
That's a tough verdict. Calling it winning feels like it's a game. For Erin, this clearly feels like her life is on the line.
Dark psychology always sees human interaction as a game of leverage. And if you look at the scoreboard, Izat is networking. He's at events. He's living his life. He's the ghost walking through walls.
And Aaron?
Erin writes in her own document that she's severely anxious and depressed, afraid of going back to the psychiatric ward. She's paralyzed by him. She's the explainer, drowning in her own receipts.
It's that Shallon Lester quote you pulled from this stack. It is better to be feared than loved.
Or maybe, in this case, it is better to be unbothered than right. Izat has achieved total control over her emotions without lifting a finger. His mere existence in a room, digital or physical, dictates her behavior. He's living in her head, rent-free.
It feels like Aaron is trying to fight a ghost with a sledgehammer, and every time she swings that hammer, every email she sends, she just looks like the one causing all the destruction.
And the ghost just floats through the wall, smiling.
So let's get practical. If we strip away the he said, she said, and just look at the strategy, what should Aaron have done? Or what could she still do to actually reclaim her peace?
The source, Dark Psychology Coded, is very clear about this. The man who withdraws conquers.
She needs to ghost the ghost.
She needs to render him irrelevant, not pretend to ignore him while secretly checking his stories, but actually truly erase him from her attention economy.
It's like the Streisand effect in reverse. By trying so hard to get him banned, she made him the main character in her own life.
Yes. Think about Sue again. Sue's boundary was the strongest one in this whole story. She didn't write a PDF, she didn't argue, she just said, I don't have the capacity, and closed the email. That is real power.
The refusal to play is the only winning move.
If Aaron had treated Izat's congrats comments with total indifference, like he was just a random spam bot, his tactic would have zero power. A nice guy stalker needs the reaction. They need to know they're getting to you. If the target is just bored, the game ends.
That's incredibly hard to do when you feel unsafe, though. Your instinct is to scream, fire.
It is the hardest thing in the world. It feels so counterintuitive to lower your shield when you feel attacked. But the shield, the PDF, the emails, the public demands, that's what's actually weighing her down. It's what makes her look heavy to the community, while Izat looks light.
What a tragic irony. The tools she thought were protecting her are the very things that isolated her.
And Izat, by doing nothing but showing up and being pleasant, managed to turn the community's own rules and its apathy into his shield. He weaponized their neutrality.
Wow. That is dark. But it makes a terrifying amount of sense.
It's the mechanics of the world we're in. We like to think justice wins, but more often, leverage wins, composure wins.
So for you listening right now, most of us aren't in the Malaysian zine scene. But we all have conflicts. We all have that person at work or in our lives who just knows how to push the buttons.
And we all have that instinct to build the case, to save the email, screenshot the text, and run to our friends and say, look at what they did. Can you believe this?
We want that validation. We want everyone to agree that we're the good guy.
But the hard lesson here is that often the world doesn't care. Or it can't, like Sue. And by demanding that it does, you might just be handing all your power over to the very person you're trying to escape.
You're letting them dictate your energy.
Exactly. The most ruthless move isn't the public takedown. It's the silence. It's genuine indifference.
Be untouchable.
Be untouchable. Let your actions speak for themselves and let your silence be the loudest thing in the room.
That's the thought to take with you today. Are you trying to win the argument or are you trying to protect your peace? Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you in the next one.